All right, y'all. So I want to go over this deck profile because I think this is a really fun build, can be a really strong build, but at the same time, want to try some different things because everybody's making deck lists on new leaders, what are the new decks, and blah blah blah. And it's like, look, you got to go back to the past. You got to go back to where it started, and the original red leader, UI Goku, from set one, which we all like to call the Red Zoro of this game. Pretty much, you know what he does. Damn, can't even click him. So pretty much, attack, draw, blah blah blah. We don't care about that. Awaken 4 or less, draw a card, and all your Universe 7 gets +5 on your turn. So with this 5k boost, you can push damage of your opponent, and that helps a lot. And the way we can do it is with this new Tien cards that pretty much they can do a lot of damage. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward kind of deck, but we're gonna go over it, go over the game plans, and pretty much what the deck does. So you're playing red aggro. The best way to play red aggro is to keep hitting your opponent, swarm them with a bunch of bodies, and keep punching face. So in order to do that, you're gonna have to run Khalifa. You have to. Critical 2-drop. Everybody has one now except for green, I believe. So now you're playing this 2-drop. Take a life. Self-awaken as fast as you can in this deck because you want to get to your awaken turn to keep swinging. Plus, do the extra +5k on Universe 7s. This Universe 6 won't get it, but swinging 20 crit is still fine in the early game. That's what you want, depending on what deck you're facing. One of Kefla, because since you're running a few of the tournament power cards, you're going to need it. You're always going to have the Khalifa as your staple. This Kefla 1-drop that can draw, play a tournament power 3 or less. And you'll definitely complain to your Gohan right here, which everybody knows about Gohan. He does a lot. This man, though, in this deck, he's Universe 7. So you're pretty much swinging for 30k when you're awakened. And he can deck something 15. So this card in this deck becomes way more better than the other red decks off the rip. So 30k swing, neg 15, really strong. Cantrip has to be a Universe 7. He's also tournament power, so if you have no plays off the Kefla, you still have a play with the 1-drop Piccolo Cantrip, draw 1, pretty good. Now we get into some of your other stuff here. Your regular super combos, which we're going to pick Universe 7 because why not? It's a Universe 7 deck. 1-drop Whis is Universe 7 itself. It's funny because he becomes a 15k attacker, which if you want to use him to kill your opponent, you can as well. But you already know what he does. He next things off the board, a little bit of control. That way, if you have to pivot to a little bit of control factor, you can by killing bodies. Killing the bodies, my bad, I'm sorry. Instead of just attacking face the whole time. You have some differences here that actually suit the U7, which is the 1-drop Frieza. Your leader's awaken and gets +5k, and then he gets the extra 5k because you're Universe 7. So you have a 1-drop 25k attacker, which is really, really good, especially when you're trying to push later on in the game. Early game, not good. Good in the late game. You have a Universe 7 critical. So not only are we teaming up with Khalifa crit, you also have Vegeta crit. If you're facing a 25k leader, I mean, you can charge him, or he's a 10k combo. But it's nice to have a guy that can swing for crit in the early game and in the late game because of the buff. So, really good card in my opinion. You have 2 of these Son Gokus. Since you're a Universe 7, you instantly become a 30. So if you want to push for 30s and draw, this will get you that power. So it's a nice little combo to do here and there to drop a body that can swing and draw 1. Your other 3-drop is the Vegeta. He's tournament power as well, which is really, really, really good off the Kefla. And this is how you push even more in this deck because you're attacking for 50, then he's a 50k on the next turn, which is really good because your opponent can't deal with him and he can't be KO'd. Yes, you can remove him in other ways. He's a 3-drop, so it's easier to remove 3-drops. Problem is, he's really good for pushing. It's like, okay, when you're playing aggro where you ditch a bunch of cards in your hand, pushing, 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 because they're all on the board, and then with the few cards you have left, you can push with this 50k, so you can keep pushing your opponent. There's a lot of pressure on your opponent, and this is a really good card still in all red decks, I believe, especially this U7. We run 2 of this Frieza. Honestly, don't know how I feel about it yet 100%. I mean, it has been going clutch in some games. This guy becomes a 45k attacker, and then since he's U7, he becomes a 50k attacker. So he's a 50k swing and negs 10. So if you don't draw onto your double striker, things like that, sometimes you don't even want to go for double striker in certain time, pivot to the game, and you're like, okay, let me drop this guy. I'm Universe 7. I can neg some things off the board. I'm a 50k swing if I want to at my leader, or opponent's leader, I mean. A really good card in my opinion. He's situational, unless we're running 2-0s only. This SCR is really good in this deck. Since we're being more aggro push, we don't care about the 6-drop because we're not trying to go into late games. You can combat a little bit in the late games. I'm not gonna lie, since you push your opponent so deep, they might be at 2 or less life. Thing is, we're not gonna be having them at 3 or 4 life and playing the slow game. We don't need the SCR 6-drop. This one's great because this one also catches your opponent off guard. You literally drop this guy in like 15, anything. Let's say you baby ape or something. Okay, now I have this 30 against your 15. A lot of your opponents will like to combo out of it because they don't want to lose a body and take a damage. But this gives you what you want, which is pressure. You want to put pressure on your opponent. You're still getting cards in their hand, and it's a double thing for you. It's really good. Now we get into the main thing here, because well, my bad. You have your double striker 2 of, which Universe 7, so it becomes a 40k double striker, which is actually a really good number in this deck because 40k is a sweet spot for most decks. And then of course now we're getting to your Tiens, which is what you want to play. This Tien came out in set 2. Play up to 3 Tien cards with 15k power or less from your hand. So when this card came out, no one thought it was really good because we're like, man, why did they release this trash card? You can only play the 1-drop Tien or some weird blocker Tien. Now you have better things you can play. So now you get this guy, you can play into the 1-drop, who becomes a 20k swing on attack on your turn. Or you can play into this new 2-drop, which is really, really good. He's always a 20k, which is really good. And then you can also take a card from your life to your hand on play. So he's always 20k in both turns, which means when you're swinging, you're 20. On your opponent's defense, he's a 20. So really good number. But at the same time, there has been times where I literally keep all my Tiens. I drop 2 or 3 of these guys, and you can just awaken so early with so much pressure, your opponent just gets overwhelmed. So that's where this deck is really good. So the best way to play this deck, never charge a Tien. You charge Tien, you lose. The whole point of this deck is to hold on to your Tiens as much as you can. If you do have to charge one, you just got to make sure that it makes sense. It just depends what you think you're going to draw next. It depends what's going on in the game state. Early game, do not charge a Tien. You have to have the Tiens in your hand, especially this 2-drop Tien, because you need this 2-drop Tien. It helps you Sith Awaken early, helps you flood the board more. With 20k attackers on both turns, he's the best one. This one is great because it's still pressure, still 20k's, but it becomes a 15 on your turn. And this guy's good because this guy swings for 25. He's the one of the attackers that becomes a 25 on your turn, but he's still a 20k on both turns. And that is pretty much the deck. You just push, 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 and try to get your Tien combo. But like I said, the problem why it's high risk, high reward is the fact that you gotta hope you can draw into your Tiens. You gotta hope that you can do this combo easily multiple times. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, there's a couple of times where I dropped the 3-drop Tien and I can only play 2 bodies, not 3. Yes, it's still worth it. It's you gotta think about it. It's like Ginyu chain. You drop Ginyu, you drop Recruit, you drop Ginyu, that's 2 bodies. You might play a 3rd body, but this one is guaranteed 3 more bodies. That's really crazy. So it's even stronger than Ginyu chain. You don't have to commit to a board presence. You don't have to have a Frieza's army on board. You're literally saying, hey, I need these guys right here in my hand, they only gotta say Tien, there's a higher chance of you drawing the Tiens and having that than having the Ginyu package in your hand. At least in my testing, in my opinions. The only difference is you have to play aggro because this deck is forcing you to push your opponent with bodies. If you're playing aggro in Fusion World, it feels like you have to keep flooding the board, hitting your opponent, doing a lot of damage to them, protecting your bodies on the board with the little hand you have, and then keep pushing for game. That's the best way I can explain it. This is the deck. Try it out. Tinker with it. Change. Make your changes. Like I said, it's not definitive probably. At the moment, it's been the fun deck I've been playing. And let me know what you guys think.